Vincent Magwenya, Chief Executive Officer of Magna Carta Public Relations, a very warm welcome to the Red Zone. Let me start with this and maybe just look at the broader news environment and where public relations fits in.
Right.
We have a contracting and time-pressed news cycle these days.
Right.
It used to be a 24-hour news cycle. These days they talk about the 2.4-second news cycle.
Right.
Where's the value in public relations in that mix?
Well, if we assume that public relations is about securing publicity only for clients, I'll agree with the premise of your question. However, for us, it is not just about publicity. It is about covering the full spectrum of reputation management, which may or may not include publicity, and that is informed by, amongst other things, the strategy, the targeted audiences, the key messages, and the intended outcomes of the communication exercise.
One gets the sense these days that maybe the discipline, the craft has come of age. There was a time 10 years ago where it had an appalling reputation. It was about party management. These days, people take this a lot more seriously, don't they?
For us at Magna Carta, it has always been about strategy. It has always been about delivering that solid communication strategy. And yes, I won't deny that the practice has had that reputation. It was certainly viewed in that way, and unfortunately businesses or companies used it in that way where they couldn't get the full value of PR. And certainly I think reputation management as a whole is taken a lot more seriously, because it has been demonstrated over time that it could impact the brand's bottom line.
I want to talk to you about value and measurement in just a moment.
Sure.
But you also use the word strategy. There has been criticism, there's ongoing criticism, that public relations is big on promise, but often weak on delivery and weak on strategy. And that is true to an extent.
From my understanding, I'll respectfully dispute that criticism and say that from a PR perspective, strategic thinking does not exist in a vacuum. The strategy from a PR perspective has to be informed and aligned to the overall business strategy, and it has to deliver to that business strategy. So if the business strategy is clearly unpacked for PR practitioners, it should be reasonably easy for those PR practitioners to deliver a solid communication strategy that can be executed in multiple platforms aimed at varying audiences and stakeholders.
Do you fit into the marketing tent when you're working for a big client, or do you work directly for the chief executive and the executive itself?
We do both. It depends on the nature of the brief.
And often there's been a bit of a dichotomy there that people haven't quite worked out where PR fits in.
Sometimes you find find that it always depends on the nature of the brief, and it depends on the nature of the institution. However, from our perspective, we come a long way in terms of understanding integration, something that we've pioneered with our sister agency, Handler Scurries, within the TBWA group, but also we've worked with other agencies outside of our marketing family of agencies. What is important here is there needs to be clear understanding of what is the role of the lead agency, if there is one, the scope of work for each agency, and establishing that shared understanding of the objectives and the intended outcomes. And if those are well understood, a harmonious sort of relationship can be easily created.
And that's
agencies.
almost impossible to manage sometimes, given that you're all competing for client brand rand.
It is with its difficulties sometimes, and it's not that easy. But from our perspective, truth is PR remains the most cost-effective of all the marketing disciplines. It is the most agile in terms of responding to issues of reputational threat. So the competition is often not amongst other agencies within the marketing mix. The competition is often amongst, if there are other PR agencies in a much bigger scope, that makes it very difficult to integrate.
One of the other challenges that your sector is facing is how to incorporate social media into reputation management operations. Have you cracked the code in that respect?
Actually, we've always seen it as an opportunity. It's never been a challenge. We managed to quickly realize that social media has a major influence on traditional media, as well as how media coverage gets escalated to a completely different level through social media. Recognizing that relationship and that influence led us to a position where we are now able to service clients with specific social media products that assist clients to navigate that space. So products such as influencer science, relationship strategies, CEO profiler, those are products that we've already been able to deliver with great success to clients.
Gatekeeping in social media becomes very difficult though. So much information is flying out and there's a huge amount of risk attached to that. How do you get your head around that?
Absolutely. You need to have tools that will allow you to monitor and map circles of influence. You need to then get clients to understand the rapid pace at which information is exchanged and to then structure themselves accordingly so that issues can be picked up early on and be responded to fairly quickly. And we're finding brands being sensitive to this, and we're finding brands responding very positively to this demand.
The other big issue that has faced public relations or reputation management agencies forever is measurement of what you do. It's impossible to measure change in perception, or is it? Is there new thinking
absolutely
around that?
You know, for a long time we've been using AVE, and we've come to recognize that AVE has lived its time and
stands for AVE stands for
audience advertising value equivalent.
Correct. That's right.
That's advertising value equivalent, and we've come to recognize that it will soon belong to the Stone Ages. Locally, the industry has not yet attained an agreed form of measurement. Globally, we've seen a lot of progress. At Magna Carta, however, we are at a pilot stage with some of our clients with new tools of measurement. I won't let the cat out of the bag so soon.
I mean, suffice it to say it's more than just column inches.
It's more than just column inches. It's about setting those smart objectives up front and measuring the impact against the intended outcomes.
Just a final question then. What should a marketing director or chief executive officer be asking of a potential agency should they want to hire you?
Okay, a couple of things. The first thing is the agency needs to demonstrate an unquestionable ability to deliver strategic thinking. That's the first thing. Second thing is depth of experience in the team. Third thing is innovation, you know, being able to integrate old ways of communicating with new platforms of engagement in terms of strategy and in terms of execution. The fourth thing is geographical presence. Maintaining a strong presence in Africa. If you look at how many companies around the world are looking at the continent, so that geographical presence and capabilities in key markets is important. Global affiliation is also key from a perspective of learning best global practices and integrating those practices to local sort of nuances and dynamics. And awards. Awards are important. They are a great showcase of an agency's of the agency's capabilities.
And are you remunerated by retainer or on project performance? I know what you'd like to do.
We will certainly prefer retainers, especially the big meaty retainers. But
that's not always possible
in
these
the
days,
current economic climate. It's not at all possible, Jeremy. So we're now looking at a hybrid where we work on a project basis, as well as on a retainer basis. And in some cases, we apply a hybrid model on one client where there's a base retainer, and that base retainer is relatively small from what we'll prefer, and it's offset by projects that are agreed on and scoped differently.
Vincent Magwenya, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.